Solid State Logic, and my take on their new digitally controlled analog console, Oracle. Let's do it. Welcome to the Music Pro, where every now and again we'll actually talk about some hardware gear on this channel. I'm Shay Alexander Wright, and today we're going to talk about Solid State Logic's digitally controlled analog Oracle console. Real quick, shout out to SSL. I did go to the event they had here with Vintage King a few weeks ago in LA. And it was great to see the console up close and of course to hear it up close. And I entered the raffle. They announced, at the end of the presentation, there was a raffle for a swag package. And I, of course, a lot of people scanned my phone for the QR code and entered. And a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from SSL saying, "Hey, congratulations, you've won the swag package." And here it is. So I just pulled out a few things that were in the package. First, this great Solid State Logic trucker cap. And then, of course, the limited edition Oracle t-shirt. I don't typically rock graphic t-shirts, but I definitely will wear this t-shirt. One, it's really, really good quality, but it's really, really a nice monochrome graphic design of the Oracle console and the logo. And then they also sent their Connects USB microphone, which is good for several applications. So I'm definitely interested. I've actually been interested in it since they revealed it some time back. And it's got a solo mode, for doing close mic type things, and music mode for instrument recording, group mode for conference type things, and vocal mode. So yeah, I'll get into that. Maybe I'll do a product review on it, even though I'm not necessarily in the of the mind, to doing product reviews. But anyway, let's get on to Oracle. Real quick, you guys know I've mentioned on here before that I'm a huge SSL guy. I've been, I've named myself an SSL guy since I was in school in Boston at Berkeley. The first console that I operated of SSL was a 4000E. 4000E with a G computer, I fell in love. By that time I'd had an opportunity to work on a few large format consoles, but it was something about SSL that just stood out above everything else, especially when it came to mixing. I hadn't heard that level of transparency on a console before. It was very easy to mix on the desk without having to be surgical. Yes, you still need to do some rather surgical work when you're mixing, particularly when it comes to EQing, but the SSLs were just much easier to deal with, so I've loved them, and even in working in large format rooms with different clients and artists over the years, coast to coast, the first thing has always been what desk is in there. Is it an SSL, and what line, what series. So yeah, and you guys know I have an SSL UC1. I'm obviously virtual. I'm completely in the box. Love being in the box, and one of the things I love being in the box, particularly over the last several years, is Solid State Logic doing their whole 360 ecosystem. The plugins, all the channel strip plugins. I have bought, when I got, so I have the UC1 in my desk. And of course, when I got the UC1, it came with channel strip 2 and bus compressor 2. I'd already owned them though. I'd already bought those plugins from SSL anyway before UC1. And then when they introduced the 4KB, they included that for UC1 owners. And then when they introduced the 4KE, I bought that plugin right off the bat because the 4000E is my favorite SSL console. And then when they introduced last month the 4KG plugin off of the 4000G, I bought it immediately. And I'm gonna do another video, subsequent episode on the 4KG because I have had some time to spend messing around with it, and I discovered some things that I didn't necessarily discover when I was working on actual 4000G consoles in New York. So we'll get into that then in the next episode or another episode. Oracle. So the Oracle desk is fascinating. It's right on time. The fact that you can have a large format console in a relatively small footprint. And really, if I'm being honest, the footprint of that console is about the size of my desk here. So I was, when they were doing the presentation, it's a not per function control surface. Let's get it straight. It's an analog console that's digitally controlled. So what you see of the Oracle is an actual control surface, and it is controlling all of the analog components that sit in racks either underneath the desk or in a machine room or somewhere remote. And those racks are really low profile as well. Just extremely impressive how confined the whole system is to a small space. And it is so versatile, so flexible, even more so than the conventional large format consoles of SSL. Just wow. The fact that there's an insert point for the large fader and insert point for the small fader. So even though there's just one set of faders, you can flip them to work as small faders or large faders. And the fact that they have inserts for the small fader and large fader is just great. That's a phenomenal feature. The other side to that too is conventionally, on the large desks, the small faders are what we would use to control our inputs to tape or hard disk rather. When I started using SSL, of course we were recording on tape, and then we all eventually moved to recording hard disk, specifically Pro Tools. So the small faders were essentially us being able to monitor the inputs going to being recorded, and then the large faders were basically the returns, if you will, and stuff, the outputs. So yeah, I love that they have the same EQ versatility, flexibility in the Oracle as in the large format consoles. I mean, the to the traditionals, the 9000s, the 4000s, and so on and so forth. One thing that, and it sounds great, it sounds like an SSL. It's, I think the remarkable thing for me about solid state logic is it's in the name. The sound that the consoles put out are so clean and transparent. That's the essence of solid state. But at the same time, they feel so warm and well connected. We always talk about the bus compressor being the ultimate glue in any mix and so on and so forth. So the sound is, 100% traditional SSL. But one thing that definitely stands out about the console is it lacks channel dynamics. And that is one of my favorite things about the large format consoles from SSL, is that there are dynamics on every module. And I love that flexibility to be able to have, compressor and gates and expanders at my fingertips for every track. So yeah, and but there is the dynamic EQ that's added to this intersection on the Oracle, which is really cool because it's modern. It shows that SSL is about evolving, incorporating modern tools in a very conventional way. And over the last few years, dynamic EQs have become extremely essential to a lot of guys' recording and mixing processes. So, I definitely salute SSL for going that way. Yeah, so if you get a chance to get up close and personal with an Oracle, I highly recommend it. I'm sure they talked about how some studios have, ordered their Oracles, and so, especially here in LA, I expect, that Oracles will be jumping up in rooms pretty soon, if not already. If I were going to go analog on the console route, that's definitely something that I would be considering, because it has all the stuff of the, of conventional analog consoles, especially out of SSL, but it's an extremely small footprint. I like faders. I like to have a number of faders at my fingertips when I'm mixing, because it just makes things move that much quicker, that much easier. I will add another 8 faders to this desk, but that's gonna come with a move when I do that. But right now, as you can see, I have 25 faders on this desk. These 24 and the one on the dock. And but all that to say, I digress. But all that to say, the 25 faders on the Oracle makes perfect sense in terms of having a large format desk with a small footprint, because it is so easy to bank and nudge between channels. And even in the demonstration, just it's a knob per function surface, but the fact that the engineer can bank or nudge as they see fit to get access to other channels, and can quickly put their hands on whatever it is that they need to control. And so yeah, there's no need for more faders, even when you're doing a fairly large mix. Yeah, I definitely get up on one. Like I said, I will do an episode coming up on the 4KG plugin and some things that I've discovered about the EQ that I hadn't necessarily taken the time when I lived in New York working on, a couple of 4,000 Gs. I just didn't take the time to really get into that EQ. So if you have any questions about other things that I might have gotten from getting up close on an Oracle, stick them in the comments below. If you have gotten a chance to check out an Oracle up close and personal yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinion on it and about it. If you're an SSL head like me, in any shape, fashion, or form, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. As a company, Solid State Logic is supreme. They're just an awesome company. Back on the East Coast, there were a few times where I had to interact with, with their service experts. This one particular room, we had a maintenance engineer, but there were some things that my brother and I needed to get boned up on that we could handle ourselves. And so they were extremely patient with us. And a couple of times they came up, they sent somebody up to Boston from New York to get into a couple of things on that desk. There's a history behind that desk that I'll get into in another episode. But anyway, SSL is a great company, and I love that they are about evolving. They have embraced the digital world. And I think they've been very, very generous in their embracing the digital realm. These plugins, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as my experience goes, these plugins are virtually uncanny to their consoles, to their channel strips. And that's why I have grown even more comfortable with being in the box completely, especially mixing. There's no doubt about it. I actually have another episode coming up where I'm going to compare a mix that we did on that very first 4000E that I ever operated, compared to the 4KE channel strip. And I pretty much matched all the outboard gear that we had in that room too for that mix. So I've got that coming up, but it's wild how close the mixes are. I remember how the moves that I made for the EQs, because back then I had a little bit of a habit, a routine of some go-to sort of things when it came to EQing on the desk. And so it's just remarkable how close the 4KE channel strip plugin has come to the actual console. But yeah, SSL is a great company. I wish them all the best in the future. I do believe they'll be around for a long time, and it was really cool to hear Peter Gabriel in the London reveal event for Oracle talk about how he got involved with SSL not too long ago. Of course, years and years and years after he and Hugh Padgham and all those guys had first used the 4000. I think the 4000B is the desk they were using at Olympic in London. So anyway, I apologize for being long-winded on this, but I wanted to get something out about it. I've got a couple of technical videos coming up behind this, so stay tuned. Till next time, Shay Alexander Wright. Peace.